Go time.
Go time. Welcome back to another episode of Sober, Shaken, and Stirred. I'm wearing shoes today.
Yes.
I wear shoes often.
I'm really glad, actually.
I wear shoes often.
Jen has been shamed.
I was in socks. Okay,
It's not only once. You've done it a couple times.
We could record in our own home.
Socked feet.
They're not bare feet. I'm not putting my bare feet out into the world on this video, but sometimes and you want to know why I was wearing just socks, is because there's an episode, and obviously we don't have the videos for season 1 all the way posted, but I was wearing slides over my socks, and you give me the hardest time when I wear slides with my socks.
Just wear shoes.
No, I want to wear sandals, but I don't want my feet to be cold.
I don't think it's so much the socked foot that was the issue.
I'm a nervous...
It was the nervous playing of the socked foot. That was my issue, at least.
Yeah,
but I'm not the only one that said something.
Another good friend of ours mentioned that it was so weird to see me without shoes on. It wasn't my feet. It was a sock. And you want to know...
You were just, nervously, rolling your foot as you were talking. It's just a socked foot that you're just playing with for...
I play with my shoes a lot.
Regardless, Jen has shoes on today.
Well, yeah, I've been shamed forever that I have to wear shoes in my own house. Ridiculous. But we're here. We're back. I just think it's in our own home. It's not like I'm going to a studio somewhere and taking my shoes off. So I just wanted to state to people who watch and don't know that we record in our own home that I'm not just going somewhere and getting super comfy with my socks out.
Okay.
Okay. So, we have been going back and forth on what we were going to talk about today.
Yes. And we decided that we were just going to look up some questions that people have, whether it be people that are the crack.
It was a decent crack.
The crack.
I was hoping you would.
Okay. Sorry. I get really distracted by cracks of cans. Whether it be people who are trying to get sober, whether it be people who are curious, whether it be...
Sober people who I just have questions to other sober people.
Yeah, true. So we just looked up some questions, some thought starters, if you will, and we're just going to run through them.
We're going to run through them.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, we are reading them off of a page posted, so if it looks like we're really staring off past the recording.
No, I mean...
Do you know the first one off the top of head?
Yes.
Go for it.
What would you say to someone who is feeling isolated or alone while going through recovery?
I'm going to answer that question.
Was I correct?
Yes. Well,
That's right. I was correct.
You wrote them out.
I did.
So if I wrote them out, I would have memorized them too. But we discussed them and I said them to you.
The question is...
I'm just trying to justify me questioning your ability. If it was switched roles, I think you would also have some issues remembering. And if I wrote them, I would have had... To the question. The question is... Go again.
What would you say to someone who is currently struggling with feeling isolated or alone as they are navigating recovery?
I think there's a couple different reasons why someone might feel alone, which is because you've now cut out most of your friends if they're also addicts. So if that's your case, I would say lean into people you feel comfortable being around.
Okay.
Whether they're someone who is sober or there is someone who, like you, can drink and not have a problem with it. If I told you I wanted to hang out and you not drink, you just wouldn't drink. You know? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be someone else who's also going through their own sobriety journey, but phone a friend, find friends, make new friends. Now, if you're feeling emotionally alone, we were talking about this because the two closest people to me, you and Monica, your brains don't work the way my brain works. We don't feel feelings the same way. We don't think thoughts the same way.
Yeah.
We can get to a common conclusion on most things, but there is not a same path to get there. But understanding that just because I'm having a feeling and you will never have that feeling doesn't mean I'm alone in the feeling. So we could still talk about it. I can still explain it to you. You can still listen and empathize with me and not ever truly have felt that feeling.
Yeah.
Because you will never know what an addictive mind is like. Mm-hmm. But I can do my best to explain that in a way that you might know. So in the future, when I'm going through those things and I tell you I'm feeling like this, like if I'm spiraling or if I'm really questioning my sobriety, not in the beginning, instead of me going, oh, I'm questioning my sobriety, I didn't want to say that to you because I didn't want you to think that meant I was going to go drink. Mm-hmm. That's not what that means. But if I didn't explain what the statement is, of like, hey, I'm really questioning my sobriety to you, you probably would have thought, so are you going to go drink? But if it's just explaining and communicating those feelings, in the same regard that you and I don't get mad about the same things.
Yeah.
But when you're mad at something, I can be like, F that, bro. Heck yeah. Be angry. Your feelings are valid. But that might never make me mad. I can't think of a good example right now, but bad grammar in text messages.
Oh my God.
And gosh, you have the worst texter in the world because me and grammar are like oil and water.
I don't get mad though.
I was just trying to find an example.
Okay, don't make it seem like I'm crazy. I was going to just say, so much of season 1, we talked about the importance of having like a reliable support system. Mm-hmm. And so I can't imagine, and I'm pretty positive I said this then, I can't imagine having to try to battle an addiction, go through recovery without a support system and feeling alone and singled out. Like, I can't even imagine that. So finding your company and your family and the support and the people that you do have, I think is just incredibly important.
I was lucky enough to have you and Monica when I got sober still in my corner and continued to be in my corner. But that's why I said go find friends, go find people, go find community. That community doesn't need to be through AA if that's not your journey.
Yeah.
You can find other people who don't drink or other people who don't need to drink at every event that you can still do things with. But if you're feeling isolated and afraid to share, and I'm not saying overshare and trauma dump, because that's not necessary in every friendship.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to be like, hey, to an acquaintance, like, hey, I really want to hang out. You know, I'm like really working on not drinking right now. Maybe we can go do something that doesn't involve that and start to build relationships with people. That also brings support because you're not alone all of the time. So we've talked about this a lot. When I got sober wasn't the first time I thought about getting sober or attempted. It was my biggest attempt ever, but that wasn't the first time I attempted.
Yeah.
But I attempted many times on my own, in my own mind, right? Not that I wasn't like actively making steps for a day or two, but I wasn't sharing and opening the door to allow people to have opinions about it because I was afraid people would have opinions about it. And I wasn't ready for that. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready for someone to be like, oh, were you drinking again? You told me you weren't going to. Well, because I wasn't ready to actually get sober.
Well, that can also be super isolating as well.
Exactly. But I've also stated on here many, many times that there are people that don't talk that way, that don't act that way. There are people who you say you're sober to and they go, oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. So find those people. They don't have to be sober people.
Yeah.
Or they can be someone that maybe goes through their own, like people, there are food addicts. There are people who go through other things that aren't substances that understand, like, I deal with my own battle in some way. So if you just want to hang out, talk about it, not talk about it, whatever, that's cool.
Fair.
There are people who ask to hang out with me because they're thinking about getting sober. And I'll be like, hey, like, do you want to talk about it? And that will be the only thing I say. If they say, no, I kind of just want to hang out. Cool, great. I'm not then going to give them pushback. Be like, well, you asked me to hang out and you told me you were thinking about getting sober. Cool, maybe a week and a half ago when you asked me to hang out, it was really on your mind. And maybe today, as we're hiking up this little mountain hill, we've decided to hike. You don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But we're still getting out. We're doing something. Maybe in your brain, you're working through it in your own way. So just continue to push your comfort zone, reach out to people. Reaching out and finding a friend doesn't mean you need to share your whole life story with them, but it does start to give you maybe a friend that you're like, hey, every time we hang out, I know it's not going to be us going out and drinking. And that's the space I need.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Next question. Are you gonna read them all off?
Yeah, because I know this one too. At least I think this one's number 2.
Go for
How
it.
has the perception of yourself changed
Since becoming sober?
since you became sober?
I love you. You're so ridiculous. Look at me. I remember. I hate myself less.
That is a wonderful start. That's a really good start.
I hate myself less, and I have a lot more grace for myself and others.
Okay.
I think not all the time do I have grace for everybody. I just want to say that we're all human. But even now, for me to state a few episodes ago, I know my mom had a very hard childhood. I know my mom, like my birth mother, like struggled really hard with her addiction. Mm-hmm. That's never something I could have, even being an addict, even being at rock bottom, I didn't have that amount of grace for someone going through addiction. And so that's not to say that I agree with everyone's choices and agree with everyone's journey and where they're at, but me having more grace for people comes from me not hating so much of myself. Because it wasn't that I hated everyone else. It's hard to talk about my birth mother and not say that, but like hated anyone else in their addiction. It's that I genuinely hated all those things about myself, so I wasn't ready to talk about it with other people.
Yes.
And talk about other people's addictions. And in any place, right? Anyone who was an addict, I hated things about them. And anyone who was sober, I was really bitter about. Like, how'd you get there? So, sorry, a little burp. We drink bubbly stuff during all our episodes, and it really sets me up for...
Well, so liking yourself more.
Loving myself more.
Loving yourself more. Not hating yourself as much, but the perception of yourself. Like, what did you perceive yourself to be when you were drunk that you perceive differently now?
I guess that's a different answer to a different question I gave you, huh? I perceived myself to have like a really good moral compass and be a really good support system for other people, and be a very good friend and be a very good leader, someone who was overall reliable.
Okay.
And I was not that.
But you perceive yourself to be that now?
I do.
Okay.
I think I've also put in the work to become that person. And also, instead of overextending myself and be like, I can be reliable for everybody. Right? Anyone who asks me for something, I can say yes and show up and do it. If I don't have the bandwidth, I will say no.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not realistic. But I really thought I was a genuinely good, reliable...
The fact that you thought you were reliable.
Strong support system.
Okay.
I think when you met me, I think
you were a good friend.
That's very sweet of you.
No, I do.
I don't think I was a bad friend. I think I was an unreliable friend. And was one of those people...
I immediately went, like, unreliable in, like, a work sense.
I know, because your brain...
My brain worked that way, where I was like, the fact that you thought you were reliable when, like...
Oh my gosh, I was. I was. And then there was, like, there was a little hiccup. Okay, work specifically. I was really reliable when you met me.
Yes.
Hence me being promoted. And then I got unreliable for a little while. And then it was a roller coaster. I would be good for 6 months, bad for 6 months. Good for 6 months, bad for 6 months. Very inconsistent.
Yes.
But I went through waves. When you met me, I was...
Of unreliability and reliability, yes. Which...
makes you overall unreliable.
Just to reiterate.
You know? You don't have to cut so deep.
That wasn't me cutting deep.
Work?
Deep.
I, as a friend and a person who showed up for people personally, not professionally, I became very unreliable. And I know many friendships I had got to a point and ended because of this point where if I showed up, we had a great time and we had fun, but you couldn't count on me showing up. Not really.
Yeah.
Not when I was in the...
Well, you would show up in the capacity that you could.
Physically, I might have been there.
Yeah.
Mentally, probably
That's what I'm saying,
not.
like, in the capacity that your body was allowing you to show up.
Well, even then, in the end, I was canceling on everyone about everything. But before then, yeah, maybe I showed up to your birthday party, but I probably was on time. Was still a pretty prompt person, but I was drunk when I got there, and I left early so I could get drunker. So was I really there to support you, or was I there to try and convince myself I was a good friend? I was there to try and convince myself I was a good friend and could still show up for people, so I wasn't a good friend. And I wasn't reliable.
Okay. That answered the question.
You know, I perceived the question differently.
Okay.
Okay? Number 3, spit it out.
Number 3, I don't know.
How the mighty have fallen.
I got the first 2.
I was just trying to go equal. Like, hey, if we're looking at it, it's because we're reading them.
Well...
Can you see that far, or does your spectacles not?
My eyesight is a little rough, but I saw one word, and now I remember it.
Okay.
Have there been any unexpected positive outcomes with your decision to become sober? I think the unexpected is the weird word for me.
Why?
Because wouldn't it all be expected? You're sober now. Expect, like, a big life change. Maybe you won't be as...
Finish that sentence.
I was going to say chaotic.
Okay. I just want to know...
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. But you pause, so sometimes you do that because we all do this. But our brains think mean things, and then we stop.
Not
talking,
mean.
So we don't say them. That's why I asked you to finish it.
The unexpected positive is an interesting phrase.
When we put this question on there, I didn't previously have an answer. I thought something would just come to me. An unexpected positive outcome. I don't know that I've ever thought of anything to be unexpected. I didn't expect my life to ever look the way it did now, even when I started to get sober.
Okay.
I didn't think I would have the job or career I have now. I didn't know that... The hard part is when you get sober, you can't see the future. All you see is being an addict forever fighting this battle with yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how much me having to fight this battle every day. And truly, that's what I would say it is every single day is me fighting a battle, and some days the battles are easy, and some days the battles are hard. But, like, it's always there. So, I thought that was going to always be my main priority and my main thought, and we would have a good life, but I genuinely didn't know we were going to get married when I got sober. truthfully didn't know if I would ever be comfortable asking you because of everything we'd been through, and then didn't know if you would say yes when I got sober.
Mm-hmm.
Both have happened. Then a pandemic got thrown into the world, and so everything looks different. I also didn't know I was going to have to be so physically isolated from the world and continue to be sober. So many people relapsed in that time
during COVID, yes,
because it was such an unexpected world. So I think everything's unexpected. Now, did I think I was going to be better in my relationship with you? Yeah, I did. And I hoped I would be. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know how I could have been worse.
Yeah.
Did I expect to be a better aunt? Yes. Did I expect to be a better boss? Yes. Because I wasn't drunk at work. Did I expect to be a better best friend and family member? Yes. But I didn't know how or what that looked like. So I think a lot of unexpected has come from it. But I don't know if that even answers that question.
Yeah. I thought this one was interesting, like I said, just because of the word unexpected attached to the front of the positive.
I think when I got sober, I thought I was just going to mend all of the bad relationships instead of waking up and realizing that some didn't need to be mended, others needed to be mended, but also no longer suited my life. And I was able to make new friendships and open up to new people. And that took me years of being sober.
Mm-hmm.
Years. People who you loved, trusted, would battle for, right? Like, full fight for these people. I still kept at a distance because just because you trusted them didn't mean I was ready to.
Yeah.
So, I think everything was unexpected because I'm also a different person now than I was when I got sober. I think you become sober and you're just that same person dealing with it forever, but you're also continuing to grow and become arguably more of an adult. I think turning 18 is year one of being alive. So I was only 25 when I got sober. I was still a child.
I think, like, the unexpected part, and granted, I do drink, so, like, I don't want to, like, put words into people's mouths, but I think the unexpected part is, like, how beautiful it is on the other side, because you have, like, you're coming into yourself in a sense. So, like, yes, everyone knows when you get sober, obviously, your work life gets better, your relationships will get better, your friendships will get better, but I think the severity in which they will progress and get better is
unexpected.
It's unexpected. It's not seen immediately.
I did think I was just going to be content and not happy.
Yeah.
And I am genuinely happy. Because when you get sober, mind you, looking back at the last few years of me drinking, none of it was fun and all of it was me just trying to survive. But you think, I'm going to give up the one thing that makes me happy and I will just be content. I will not mess up anymore and be an awful person that people don't want to be around. And so I will give up my happiness. Big quotes around it because you've convinced yourself that this addiction or this thing you use as your, addiction is the only thing that brings you joy. But you think, I'm going to give up all of my happiness to give up all of the awful about me. And I'll just be in the middle forever.
Yeah.
Which is not true. I still have emotions quite roller coasterly.
I saw something, I wish I remember who it was, but essentially he was saying, like, addiction, what it starts at is, like, okay, you're in, like, the fun section, and then it goes to fun with problems.
Okay.
And then it just turns into problems, and the fun is gone. Like, there's no more fun any longer. Mm-hmm. It's just all problem. Like, big problem, and now, and because you're so far into it at that point, you can't easily get out, and so it's just something that you need, but it only causes issues and pain and struggle. So
yeah, and when you're in it, you think, I just need to find a way back to the fun before the fun problem, but there's no way back. You've given it up. I was gonna say upgraded, but you downgraded. You downgraded to fun and problem because you overindulged, and you can never go backwards.
Yeah.
So there's always and you hear this a lot in the sober community, but there's the statement of, oh, I miss being drunk. And my miss of being drunk is laying at a park in the sun being drunk. Like, that's the time, the memory that pops into my head when I think of a fun drunk.
Mm-hmm.
But you're idolizing that moment, because as you and I have talked about, that is just the picture of the moment. And I look at pictures of being drunk at a park with friends in the summer, but I'm not remembering the fact that I was so hungover on my way there, I probably threw up, and then had to drink just to be able to meet them at the park, and then had to manage myself all day. It wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So, a lot of unexpected that you never expect. That's what that means, by the way. A lot.
Just to clarify.
What I was trying to say is a lot happens in sobriety that you never expect because you genuinely don't think it's going to happen. You think you're just going to lose all of yourself.
Yeah.
Number 4, shoot it out. How about I give you one word? Tips.
Tips for someone that misses the chaos that came along with a life and active addiction.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
I'm good at this.
How do we turn this skill into a moneymaker? Tips for someone who is missing the chaos that comes with the life of... Okay. I was just checking your words, so I didn't comprehend the question. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. My brain can't do both. I was not...
So someone missing the chaos that came along with a life living an addiction.
I would like us to define what we think the chaos is. Like, what do you think that person is missing when this question is asked?
So if someone were to ask me this question, or my assumption, like, okay, missing the chaos that came along with like a high drinking lifestyle, to me the chaos is like wild parties, shenanigans, nights out on the town, going home with random strangers. Like, to me, that is the chaos.
Okay.
When it comes to, granted, this could be any sort of substance abuse, and I'm just taking it as drinking, but that's kind of how
Why can't you go out and dance sober? If you like dancing.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what part of recovery you're in, because there's also so many people who are in recovery who can't go out to clubs and can't be around active drinking and around people that are partaking without it being incredibly triggering. And
because this is where my thought process is going to go a little spicy, because you've told yourself again and again in recovery that you can't do that and it will break you, or because you genuinely can't.
I mean, I'm not someone that is in, I don't know, but
I know.
That's typically
that is typically
thought process, is like, I can't do these things because it's triggering and I will relapse.
It's triggering because you've gone and tried to do it, or you think it's triggering because you've never...
I mean, it could be both.
This is why I really push back on, you can't go out and do the stuff and put yourself in the places you used to be in, the activities you used to be in, where everyone would drink, because it's going to trigger you. How do you know if you don't go? I don't like dancing, so it's not a good thing for me. I genuinely don't. Could never dance again a day in my life, and I'd be okay. I've never had a great time.
And I'm a dancer. I love to go and dance.
I would like to say, I got down at our wedding. Surprised everybody how much I got down.
Right.
But I don't want to go out to a club and dance. I didn't want to go to a club and dance when I was drinking. I needed to drink.
Let alone sober. You're uninterested.
I'm uninterested. So are you missing doing things you didn't like doing with people you like? Because then maybe you and those people just find things you also like doing to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, once you get past the FOMO, because a lot of people have FOMO and they don't know how to get over it, but I don't ever fear missing out an activity that I don't want to do. Even if it's with people, even if it's with you, okay? And you're like, I really want to go do this thing. And I'm like, great, yeah, you should totally do that with people who want to. And then you go, and I'm like, oh man, look at her. My wife, she's having a great time. And I know, not to get too far off track, we'll come back to the question, that you love doing everything together. So you would still have just as much fun if I was there, but I probably wouldn't be having fun. And I would just be there to support you in your endeavors. So I don't have a FOMO thing. Mm-hmm. I miss people, but I'm never like, oh, Mia, I have to work instead of doing that. I'm like, oh, look at how much fun they're having.
Good for them.
Good for them. Good for them.
Good
so I think you have to work on that separately. But if you're putting yourself, or you've spent all of your drinking years doing uncomfortable things and drinking so you could do them with these people, that's going to be triggering. If you love to dance and you love to go out with your 3 best girlfriends and dance, go do it. Mm-hmm. Go dance, girl. Push your boundaries. Maybe you need to set up boundaries to go do it the first few times. Maybe go to a new place where they don't think you're the blackout girl who falls off the benches in the middle of Vertigo. That wasn't me, but that's a bar that we know. You know, I never fell off a bench there. Just saying. Maybe you go to a new place that doesn't have all this energy and bad memories around it, but why can't you go dance?
Yeah.
There was a girl in a meeting one time, and she was saying how she was struggling because she wants to go play softball with all her friends, but they all drink at the softball games.
Okay.
And she's drank at the softball games all of her life with them, playing like co-ed adult league now. And I just thought, okay, so are these people that you met drinking, playing softball with? Are these people you've known your whole life? Like, why are you out with them? If they're people you've known your whole life, like, why can't we drink less at this event? If they wanted to support you. Mm-hmm. If you met them because that's how you meet people as an adult, why don't you find a league or a team that doesn't get sloshed and make friends that don't want to use this activity every week as their I'm going to get effed up activity?
Yeah.
So I think you just find the things. Now, back to the original question, because we interpreted this question differently.
Oh, yeah. What was your interpretation
My
of chaos?
interpretation is, for missing the chaos, is emotionally missing the chaos that you're always in all the time. And not like activities that you used to do. But for the longest time, and Monica and I used to talk about this all the time, where I'd be like, man, life's just going too good. And it feels as if it shouldn't be. Something's gonna go wrong. Because something always goes wrong. Well, the going wrong was me drinking and messing up my life and me adding my own chaos. So I was so uncomfortable not having my life on fire all the time. Mm-hmm. And so there's a point you have to get to where you realize that you are allowed to not have chaos in your life. And you don't have to add chaos back into your life.
Right.
And that's okay. But there's a gap. There's a chaos and the place where you're comfortable without chaos, and there's a gap in between there. You don't just instantly wake up and go, man, I've been sober for this long and I just feel great about it. Nothing's missing. Because you grieve and work through all your stuff about the alcohol, right? And you find places to fill the holes on, I do this instead of drinking. But the drinking was just the beginning of the circle. And so many other steps came from it. So what are you filling in place of the rest of the circle? Mm-hmm. Right. If you, and for example, if you had a very specific hangover routine, in the morning you got up and did this, this, and this, that's generally, for me it was to drink more. But not everyone who is in their addiction just drank 24/7. They would make it through their workday and then drink at night, yes. Right? And then you wake up and you do this certain morning routine and it gets you going. Okay, well, you don't have that morning routine anymore. And then there's a gap. Okay, make a new morning routine. Mm-hmm. Or you're not used to not fighting with your significant other via text all the time. So let's just put out there, you and I used to text fight a lot when I was drinking.
Yeah.
And then now we're in a place where we might not text between going to work and coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing of significance has happened in our day.
Nothing's happened.
Or we're both really busy. We send each other cute texts sometimes, but it's not every day. We busy. We live together. We see each other. The love is there. So not every day is there something significant or like a cute little moment.
Right.
Okay, but at first, when we got to a better place and I was sober, and then you stopped checking in so often on how I was doing in my day, because we went from fighting about me drinking via text a lot to us checking in all the time about my sobriety to normal, quote unquote, what people see as normal.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a gap. Because
what do you do at that time?
What do you do? I would check my phone and be like, why hasn't Natalie texted me? There's nothing to text about.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a gap, and I didn't understand the gap. And I was like, okay, is she mad? Why isn't she texting me? What
Curious.
did I do? Oh my gosh, something has happened. If she's not mad, something has happened. And I used to panic and fill that void with panic, and it took a time to realize, no, this is just a healthy relationship. You've just now grown. You're sober. You have good communication. She trusts you to stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's not checking in all the time. So that's what I took missing the chaos as.
Okay.
And because I think the going out thing is a fun thing. Just find a different... Bless you. That was such a long pause.
The wind up there
Was...
wow.
Sneeze. Are you okay?
Yeah, that one like... Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
But that's what I took as missing the chaos. Like, the chaos in your life that you then just self-make 24/7. It's not there. It's just, sometimes you are allowed to have peace.
Yeah.
It's just a hard transition to peace when you haven't had it for, what, mine was 15 years of drinking, and I would say at least 5 of nonstop drinking in the end. So 5 years of the same habits, and all of a sudden they're gone. There's a lot of void of things.
A lot of white space that needs to be filled.
Space. Oh my gosh. Crazy. But yeah, you gotta fill it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both answered that question.
We did.
Okay.
I like both of our answers.
I love, and I say this all the time, broken record, I love when we hear something and your not sober brain and my sober brain come at it, like I said, 2 different angles, 2 different perspectives on the same dang thing.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the last one?
What would you say to someone who is struggling with their decision to become sober? Or was it... That's a good question, though.
It's similar. It's similar to that.
Deciding whether or not to become sober.
You're missing a key point there. What it says, you did very good, is
Thanks.
Advice for someone considering sobriety but is afraid of losing their identity.
Okay. I do remember that one now.
And that we put the identity in there on purpose because, what do you think I'm going to say? If your drinking is your identity, you're well past needing to get sober.
Yeah, if drinking's your characteristic.
Your main trait,
Honey,
way past.
you need to...
And this is coming from a girl whose first 3 identities were drinking. What was that?
Sure. Your first 3 identities?
Yeah. Are you hiding a yawn?
I could have been.
Okay. I just need everything about me. I didn't know who I was without alcohol. I didn't know who I was professionally without drinking to make myself want to talk to people. I don't know how I thought I was going to lose that because I'm still pretty good at it.
You're still a talker.
I was talking in a professional setting.
I mean, both.
Yeah. I thought I would be able to make no human connections with other people. arguably can make better ones now because they're genuine and not me just being a drunken mess. And I didn't know how to be alone without drinking. Like, everything about who I was in the world revolved around me being intoxicated.
Yeah. I think that people who also say that drinking is one of their hobbies...
I think that's a harsh statement. And I'm an addict.
you know?
It's like a sommelier.
That's fair.
Do you think a sommelier has to be an addict?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. If someone's identity and personality is contingent and in the hinges of you drinking, something's
their
wrong
identity,
there.
yes.
Something's wrong.
If it's their identity, yes. If it's one of their hobbies, I don't think that's wrong.
Well, I mean, okay, let's go back to saying, like, I collect whiskey. Mm-hmm. I still would not say that one of my main characteristics is being a drinker.
Yes, but I'm just using sommelier as an example because that's something that takes years of dedication. That's like saying you become... Don't ream too hardly into me, but someone getting a doctorate... And that not being a characteristic of theirs. You worked hard for that. You know the kind of schooling you have to do to become a sommelier? Okay. And if they're like, oh my gosh, that, not to say it's not potentially irritating or pretentious, but someone who's like really into how they care for their wine and how they drink their wine, it all revolves around it. Maybe they don't even drink every day, but when they drink, they want to know all the notes and all the things. I like how I'm battling for it to be okay.
I know.
Okay.
I
think many people...
Obviously, there are instances where it does make sense. If you are a sommelier and you have spent your life learning and educating yourself on...
Wine. Okay. Fine. Now, to go back to the main question, because that's such a very specific point that... We weren't.
Identity.
The moment that you don't know who you are without a substance, you shouldn't have that substance anymore. Mm-hmm. I think that about everything in our life. The moment you don't know who you are without a job, that specific job, you're too far deep. The moment you don't know who you are outside of your relationship, you're probably not in a healthy relationship. We're such... What's the word I'm looking for? Literally, my brain turned off. I had it. It was.
I'm waiting.
The tip. I wanted to say versatile, but that's not the right word. Expansive. That's not the right word. Gosh, I can't think of it. It's been a while since it's happening. Grab it.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Grab the
word. I couldn't tell you what you're trying to say right now, so...
You can remember a whole frickin' list of questions, but you can't reach in here and pull a word out?
Oh, what are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say we're such... Human beings need more than one thing. And the moment you pigeonhole yourself...
Complex?
Complex is a good word. It's not the one that was on the tip of my tongue.
Faceted?
Faceted might have been the word.
I just needed you to explain to me what the word meant.
I just wanted you to go based off context. We're such faceted beings that I think the moment that anything is your identity, you've let it go too far. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just the type of person I am, or the people we are, but I just think you should have multiple different things in your world. And it should never be a substance.
I agree.
The faceted thing really threw my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Hold on. Throw your opinion in there and let me collect myself.
I mean, I said my opinion and you turned it down. And you said poo-poo, sommelier.
Did you just say poo-poo? Oh my god.
So that, I mean...
I didn't mean to say poo-poo.
I have the same opinion that you do. as soon as your entire identity, characteristics, personality is contingent on whether or not you can drink, just maybe take a break.
Maybe take a break.
Figure out who you are without it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because there's so much more to a human being than the amount that you're drinking.
Which is for also to say on that is, on this podcast, obviously, we lean in heavily about me being sober. That is literally the whole concept. I don't talk about my sobriety all day, every day.
No.
It's not the only thing about me. It's important here. It's important that we discuss it. We don't even talk about my sobriety every day.
No, this is when we talk about your sobriety.
I know. We talk about running and dinner plans. By that I meant what I'm cooking. Mm-hmm. Like, we talk about so many other things about me. We talk a lot about you also. I know it's very my life centric in this podcast, but my words are failing me. What I'm trying to say is there are so many different things, which is also why when I meet new people, unless it's in this instance where sobriety is why we're meeting, I'm not like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm sober.
Yeah.
I take forever to tell people.
People are multifaceted. There's so many things about a human being that make them who they are, and that's what's, like, beautiful about people.
Yeah.
Is everyone is so different. Mm-hmm. So if you've put all your eggs into the drinker basket...
Put eggs somewhere else.
You need to start freaking divvying up some eggs.
Or also get potatoes. Oh, get some
Get potatoes. Sure.
Yeah.
Some golden carrots. Yes.
That was very specific.
It's a Schitt's Creek reference, but...
and I missed it. I'm so sorry. I'm normally very good. We quote Schitt's Creek to each other quite often, and we both get it.
Yeah. But
I think that, and I also think I said this in season 1, or maybe we just discussed me discussing it, but I also don't tell people I'm gay when they meet me. It's very easy to tell. I look pretty gay. I also like to talk about having
You do, in fact, look queer.
Yes. I also like to say, yes, my wife.
With that accent.
My wife. I really like to throw it in there. Sometimes I'm like, maybe you shouldn't tell these people you have a wife. Not because of the gay thing, but maybe because I shouldn't talk about you so much. But then the other part of me is like, I don't freaking care. My wife's cool.
Thanks.
So I'll just be like, yeah, my wife does
My wife's super cool. She's got a great memory. That's what you can tell people now.
I'm not going to.
Okay. Fun fact.
You just told them.
Okay. Anyway.
But I just, there's so many other things out there that I think using one thing as your identity in any case, you should check that, question it, give some pushback. If it's alcohol, you should be sober or stop drinking or take a pause. I'm not going to name the name here. Not that it matters. It's someone who used to be a YouTuber in the heyday, and drinking was her whole channel.
Oh.
And she basically coined Dry January. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're making a face.
Continue.
But her whole thing too was to take a break, but when she talks about it sometimes it's also because a lot of what she does is around alcohol, but her whole personality isn't just alcohol. It's also like doing these other things. She's a writer. She does this stuff. A lot of people just know her for that one thing, but she wants them to know her for so many other things.
Yeah.
So even if that is your career or your job or your hobby, it shouldn't be your everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, that like pinballed all around in that last question.
A-okay.
Because I couldn't think of the word faceted. Multifaceted. Yeah. There's a last little one we didn't write down because I didn't know if we were going to do it. Can you remember it?
No.
Because I'm going to throw it in there. I'm going to butcher it because I didn't write it down either. Oh man, what was it? It was something about how do you You don't remember at all?
No.
I said we should ask this one too if we have time.
You said I'm going to ask this one too if we have time.
And you didn't remember?
No, because you said you were going to ask this one.
So much for that good memory you got going. It was basically, give me a minute, it's going to come to me. Basically it was, how do you not track... Something about, like, being sober forever. Like, how do you stay on your sober journey forever? Or, like, track where you are on your... You know what I'm saying? I'm getting it wrong, and I'm phoning a friend. I'm phoning a wife. This is my wife.
I think it was essentially, like, what's the one tip that you have for continued and lifelong sobriety?
You know, I loosened the pickle jar, and you took the lid off for me. That's what happened.
You're welcome.
Say the question again so I can think about it.
What's the tip that you have for someone who's up against continued and lifelong sobriety?
It's not a contest on whether you win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
It is put that way a lot. One of the many other things I hate, I don't agree with. Take back the hate word. I don't agree with about traditional sober journeys, specifically AA, is relapses treated as you failing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying if someone starts drinking and then drinks for 5 years, and I would even call it failure, I'm saying just didn't do well being sober. But it's so put into you're either winning or you're losing. And why isn't just all a part of the journey?
Mm-hmm.
There was so long in the beginning that I was so afraid of relapsing. And that's not to say that I think relapsing would be a great time. I think it would be awful. Physically, emotionally, I would have so much regret and grief about it. I'm not saying those feelings aren't there, but if you put it in your brain that if you relapse at all, you failed, well, you're never going to maybe relapse, drink one drink and go, no, this isn't what I want. I've made a mistake, and pause. You're going to drink one drink and go, already failed, might as well drink forever. You know, you're really going to just destroy everything you've worked for. So there's a part in your brain where you have to realize that if something ever in life pushes you that far, you could reset and continue on this journey. Yeah. You don't have to restart. I'm not saying don't restart your count if your count's important to you. I keep a count for how long I've been sober, but I also don't look back and go, that day I got sober was the first time I tried, and that's when I started succeeding. No, I tried for years, and that was the first time it took. All the work before made me be able to be sober as long as I've been sober.
Yeah.
So if something then happens, and gosh forbid, forbid, I did have a drink intentionally, I would stop, pause, and go, this isn't what you want. It's okay that it happened. Take a breath, reset, move forward.
Yeah.
That is how I get through forever. Because if I have to think about being perfect in my sobriety for the next 50 years, I would crumble. Because perfection is unobtainable. If I think about doing my best all the time, and if life really cuts me at the knees, I will find a way to keep moving. That's obtainable. So making forever realistic is how it works for me.
Okay.
And also knowing, you and I have talked about this, Monica and I have talked about this, if I would come to you, I'm not saying you would give me that face that I hate seeing, like the really disappointed face. Oh gosh, I can imagine it. It's not good. I don't like it.
Oh.
Mm-mm. But I also think if I had a drink and I came to you and I told you, I really messed up, and I don't want to mess up, and I'm sorry, you might give me the face and go, okay, thank you for telling me. We got to do something different.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing got you to this point. And that, the win or lose concept of this whole thing is unrealistic. And I don't know how people don't crumble. And I also think that's why so many people do crumble that take a traditional path.
Yeah.
Because they're so afraid of failure when you're just trying.
You're living your life.
You're
doing
living
your
your
best.
life.
Yeah.
I think the analogy I said earlier was if you've done your job, like your career job, great, amazing, wonderful, every day for 6 years, and then you show up one day and you have a really awful day and you don't do any work. Should you be fired? Should you just never show back up to your job? Should you say, I've showed up awfully today, I guess I might as well just quit? And forget the last 6 years that you've done wonderful work for? Mm-hmm. No, you'd be like, oh man, something caused this. Let's fix the cause.
Yeah.
So.
I like that analogy. That makes sense in my brain.
Good.
Yeah.
I like when our brains can see the same things.
That one worked up there.
Mm. Yeah, I would love to see... You know how they categorize how people think and how their brains work?
Mm-hmm. We've
never really looked into how our brains fall on that spectrum. I would love to know.
We should find like a quiz somewhere.
Well-vetted quiz.
Yeah.
We need the Pottermore quiz of these quizzes and not the, like...
The BuzzFeed version.
The BuzzFeed quiz of these quizzes. Okay. We need the Pottermore quiz to figure out what brains we have.
I mean, we already know that I think incredibly logically.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I need a quiz to tell me that.
But I think you think through your logic, and that's what I want to understand. Because your logic isn't all logic.
I would say it's pretty all-encompassing.
No. That's like saying,
wow,
we load the dishwasher different ways.
We do.
Okay, you're saying yours makes sense logically in your brain, so it's the only right way to load the dishwasher?
No, the way that I load the dishwasher is how I was taught as a child, and it's just continued.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with logic. Are all the dishes in the dishwasher? Hell yeah, they are. Do they fit in there? Yeah, they do. They're all gonna get washed.
Except that one straw.
Except that one goddamn straw.
That we just need to hand wash, but we refuse.
Oh my god. Regardless, are the dishes clean? Yeah, they are.
Well, thank you for saying poo-poo to my analogy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
You think your logic is the most correct logic. I don't think that's always true. I think occasionally that might be incorrect. So for you to be like, well, I have a logical brain, and that's how my brain always works.
No. I'm not saying that I'm always right. The way that I approach problems is just more logically minded. Versus people might assume I have a creative mind.
No.
And I do sometimes. But I am more logically minded when it comes to problem solving and approaching a situation or feeling emotions, etc. It doesn't mean that my logic is the correct logic. It's just I am very like compartmentalized, like this, timeline, blah, blah, blah. There is no fun, like, I don't know.
There's no
I'm not
fun? Your brain has no fun?
I'm not a creative-minded person. I'm not an emotionally-minded person.
I need the Pottermore test on this. The Brainmore test.
You know what, guys? Send us some tests that we can take.
I'm not going to be able to sleep until we find some tests.
Okay.
Already difference in our brains. You're like, eventually maybe we'll take one. We need answers. I need answers.
Okay. We are going to wrap up this episode, and then we are going to go and find some tests, and we'll come back to you guys with the answers.
You think you're just going to go to sleep tonight and not think about this?
Yeah, it's compartmentalized. That goes in the box, and then we can revisit.
Okay, last little bit. I know we're really off topic here. Is your brain not a ton of tabs open?
It is.
Okay, continue.
It is. Mm-hmm. I have tons of tabs, but my tabs are usually attached to, like, to-do lists. Like, I can click to this tab, like pink tab, and then I got all the stuff that's pertaining to the pink tab. And then, what?
What do your tabs look like in your brain? I literally think it's like tabs on a window browser. And I'm now thinking that your tabs are like a binder. We don't even have the same tabs.
I don't know, man.
My mind... Did you see it explode? As you said, tab, pink tab. Oh my gosh, I can see it now. You love a binder. So you're just saying...
Like a planner.
You open your planner binder, and you just go, blue tab. Here are all the things on the blue tab. They're not like windows on your computer screen in your brain.
No.
And there's just like, you know, when you go on your phone and you go to X out of 1 and you're like, 36? Why do I have 36 tabs open in my Google?
No, mine all fit nicely in a binder, and you can choose which color, and you flip to the correct tab that you need to be on, and then there's, like, the multiple tasks and to-do lists that you have pertaining to that tab. And then you just close it back up and you put it away.
Man, I never thought when I said tab and you said tab, we were talking about different things. I thought yours was always a tab.
It is a tab.
In a window, in a windows of a computer. I always thought your tab meant what my tab meant, and they don't, and my mind is blown. I'm going to be up until 3 a.m. thinking about this.
No, we're going to be up until 3 a.m. taking tests about the way that our brains work.
That would be thinking about this.
Oh my god. Okay.
She's trying to get me to come to a close because I clearly just veered right real hard. Just like off into the distance somewhere.
Off into the sunset.
Off into the tabs in my brain, clearly. Thank you for joining us. I love you and all your pink tabs in your binder. I know they're different colors, for sure.
They each have a different color.
I know.
But I love you for saying that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining our questions today. We'll see you next week. I'm blown, man. My mind is like, your tabs are different. Wow.